I want you to think that there are qualities that you have that are soul-based. They are soul, like your soul itself, like the essence of who you are. Your consciousness itself has a frequency, has a vibration, has a way that it awakens. And I don't know what's happening with the color here, but the sun is coming in strong on the sunset. So we have a beautiful sunset going on here, and so you're going to have a little bit of light and dark with me. But what I want you to realize is that there's your nature, and then there's the person that you developed in your life, which is your nurture, and there are 5 human soul, or I should say soul qualities that are here to either in some way be creative and mystical and spiritual and connected to spirit. That's one of them. And soul qualities, which then are the deepest feelers, the most sensitive souls, and they're here to just love. Just literally, they're just here to hold love. And those are soul qualities. These are innate soul qualities. And you'll see them in children when they're born. Some children are just like, you see them and they're just like, and they're just love embodied. And then that same, then you look to the crib next to them at the hospital, and the next one's like, boom, looking at you like wham. Like they're on. They're like in the relationship. They're already working. They're looking at the area. They're checking things out. They're actively in the environment already. So they're energetically, these things exist. And so these qualities. So we have the so we have the sort of the creative mystical. We have the deep loving feeler. We have the one who's here to sacrifice and give and support and be the giver, as John had said. Be that giver. That's a soul quality. And then there's the ones that the baby that comes into the world, and they are just bing, and they are looking around. They're very astute. They're very sharp. They are whereas a loud noise happens and all the other babies cry, they're much more contained within their system. They're not as flowing from the day one. So this is their nature, to be more observant, more being able to, and it goes through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and the behaviors that they have will be reflections of that. And then they're what we call the leaders, or the charismatic leaders, or the charmers, and those children, from the moment they are in the crib, they're just like blink, blink, blink. They're just wanting to connect and wanting to be with you and wanting to and as soon as they can talk, as soon as they can move around, they're doing it to sort of entertain you, to get your attention, because they desire your total attention, and they tend to be strong-willed and amazing. They're the leaders in the world, and the charmers and the actors and the actresses, and so the child comes in, and from early on you see this expressive behavior. So, and each of these are soul qualities. They're your nature. Now, you come into the world, and if you think about it, you're coming into the world, and you are and you come into the world, and you're one of those 5. I was totally the dreamer, creative, mystical, kind of kid. And I was just like, and actually, and very commonly, with a very creative child being born, there's a lot of birth trauma. And, as there was, placenta abruptia, there was all sorts of problems. I had to get out in like 5 minutes or die. And it was just like, there was this huge, emergency when I was born, which brings you a creative person into the world thinking this is not a safe place, and pushes your energy up into the upper chakras, where you're sort of ready to go back. And I even had some unknown illness at only a few months old, where I had like 105 fever, and they were like, he's going to die, and there was nothing. And that was sort of my soul saying, beam me up, Scotty. This is dangerous here. And it's a very common thing for a creative person to do. Now, I come into the world and I just want to be sort of like, dreaming and out there, and but I come into a world, and my mom is very, focused and driven, and so it was sort of expected that I, do things and focus and sort of like the achiever. And it's in a society, God knows, especially for little boys, you're supposed to accomplish something and do something, and you're not just supposed to be taking care of other people. You're supposed to be doing and winning. And so I started in sports and competing, and I tried to be that, the nurture of my society. When I had wonderful parents, and they were very supportive, both teachers, both teachers, and they that was what I was here to get from them, is to see how they taught and then create my own way of teaching. But that shift in the family from being sort of like totally like out on planet Zork and dreaming and all this stuff, and I had all sorts of dreams and all sorts of stuff, and there was like, those weren't going to be okay to be discussing at the dinner table, but doing the right thing, competing, being a good boy, all that stuff, that's the nurture. Now, so that dreamer, who literally, as Dan Millman told me one time, I have one foot in the spirit world and one foot on the banana peel. That energy wasn't that it was rejected, but it wasn't as welcome as another behavior. And so for some of you, you were just flat out rejected for whatever your profile was, or whatever this soul quality was within you, and you had to learn to be somebody that you weren't. And so for me, I learned very early on that being good, doing the right thing, competing, always doing your best, that sort of thing, that was more important than these crazy ideas that I had in my head about, what was going on in the universe and what was happening in these visions that I was having, which I didn't even know at the time. I was seeing the energy field and all these crazy things, and I was like, I got to shut that down and be a boy and get to work. And so for each one of you, I want you to think about, what's your nature when you've done spiritual work, when you've now called forward these qualities within you. What you feel is sort of like your core quality, your soul quality, because that's the only one that really counts. And this work that I do, these 5 life purpose profiles that I have, if you haven't gotten my book, Discover Your Purpose, where I talk about the 5 life purpose profiles, and really go in depth as to what these soul qualities are. And this is very, very different than DISC or Enneagram or Myers-Briggs. Those are all behavioral, not even by scientists, right? They're all just behavioral studies by people that wanted to have a nice system that told you, helped you be who you were, and it was cute and nice and all that. But and yes, you can tell a lot by people's behavior, but behavior also lies. The behavior, my behavior, if you had looked at my behavior from, say, 4 or 5 or 6 years old on, and the way I managed myself, and then in my life and competitive, and I was working hard, and I became a workaholic, and I did all these competitive achiever types of things, you would say, which I would have totally said when I was doing energy work, was I'm an achiever. And I even have some of the body like this. So I want you to look at, we can look at the men, because I'm talking about mine. So we have so right here we have the creative body. And so this is the difference between a behavioral study where anybody, this guy over here can say, hey, I love computers. I'm a computer programmer. And so I'm a thinker. But energetically, he's too grounded. He's too solid. He doesn't have enough energy in the upper chakras to be the creative soul, right? So your ability to behave, any one of these people can become computer programmers. Here's the deep feeler right here. You can really see how the body's more flexible and fluid, and not the big muscle tone like you have over here in the leader or in the achiever. But you have the soft body. And so even that person can do martial arts or as a guy, so here I am, I'm a guy, who's over here, and I'm supposed to be basically, which I came into the world like, beam me up, Scotty, it's dangerous down here. But then as a guy, I had to be this guy over here. I had to be the achiever. And so the achievers, well, they do martial arts and they do all these things. And we all have all of these qualities within us, both the creative, the deep feeler, the caretaker, the achiever, and the leader. We all have all 5 of those qualities within us. And so I have a strong achiever. And so I was able to do martial arts and play competitive tennis and do these sort of things. But it never worked for me. It never was it was never natural to me. And so there's nature and nurture. So you have the perfect body. So if you really want to figure out which one you are, look at your body type. Okay. Now, just keep in mind, the charismatic leader, they're like method actors. So they could actually have any one of the body types, depending upon which one they're pretending that they are right now. But they're always leading. They're always sort of like whatever role they're playing, they're either achieving at a high level, or they're caretaking everybody and they're managing everybody and keeping everybody safe, or they're super, super deep feelers and sensual and they're often very sexy and, really super, deep feelers, or they're just wild, crazy professors, but they've got huge energy. So that's the key, is they can be in any of the bodies, but basically they do tend to have more of a wedge shape underneath whatever other body, even if they're overweight, they've still got that sort of V and the smaller waist and the wider shoulders, and energy. So we have these, and of course we have this exact same chart for the women. And so as you are thinking about who you are, people say, well, I'm a whatever the Myers-Briggs or I'm a 3-9 in the Enneagram. Wouldn't it just be easier to say I'm a super creative person, that and I've got the body to match, which means that my soul, who chose why I'm here, and the parents that I had, and exactly what they needed energetically, and then they put the energy in the body that keeps the body in that form, because this person with the vertical energy running up and down him, with everything up and out the top of the head, is never going to create any body mass, right? Because that's the nature of the beast. And if you're going to understand your real nature, you have to understand, of course, you have the perfect body to be that nature, okay? And if you have this super soft, more weight, sort of flexible, maybe, flow yoga kind of a body, well, that's, that person is going to be here, to be a deep feeler, to be really caring and come from the heart. Even if they were told, and very often this person, when they get wounded around being so soft and so gentle and so emotional, they will actually pretend that they're this person over here, the achiever, like I did. Because, by the way, nobody's ever going to stop you from being an achiever, where you have no feelings, no focus. We're not like the rule keeper, the defensive side of it. Nobody's going to stop you from doing that. And if you're totally good on your own and you're successful and independent, everybody's like, great, go do it. Fantastic. And so, but if you pretend, if this deep feeler hides their deep feelings by saying, I'm good, I'm fine, I don't talk about my feelings anymore, after some trauma or some PTSD that we have as children, where we have to give up our core self, even though we have the perfect body for it, and we keep running the energy through that body, and your body feels. That's why I said, what do you feel like? If you write it, type in, what is it that you feel like in your body? Well, that is the key to knowing your nature. And your nature is a soul quality, not something you've learned. Nothing that you've learned on this planet usually has helped you, and in very much of a way at all, has helped you know your real purpose. And so we have the same thing. We have the creatives, the deep feelers, the caretakers who are strong and grounded, and then we have the achievers who are very grounded but very efficient. They're always always in place. They dress well. They always have color matching. They see the big picture. So we have these, and this is the type of body, very evenly balanced, very strong muscled. They're disciplined. And they can be, so they're great sort of triathlete type of bodies. They're lean, they're focused, they discipline themselves, and they have endurance. So they can achieve. So we have creative idealists, we have emotional intelligence, we have caretaking, which are the team players. We have the knowledgeable achievers, and they often have many letters behind their names, and doctors and PhD or whatever that they have law degrees and or scientists or whatever they happen to be. They have this ability to think, process, chunk things down, and succeed at it. So they're the natural achievers. And then we have the charismatic leaders who often have a little bit of all of them. And if you're saying, well, I'm all of those things, check yourself out, check your body type out. Do you have a body that's stronger than most people think it is? A body that is more flexible than other people? A body that if you work out, you build muscle quickly, right? Or a body that if you decide to sabotage it, you can gain 100 pounds in no time, right? You have this enormous, so this is the biggest energy, and this is the closest to spirit, right? So we have the most grounded, the next most grounded, the next most grounded, the lesser grounded, more in the heart and more emotional, and then not grounded at all. So this is the progression, and so these are your soul qualities, and so when you are making a decision in your life, and usually you come to this realization that I have been doing something in my life for a long time. I've been doing this and I don't know why I'm doing it, and I don't know why I'm in this job, and I don't know why I'm in this relationship, and God knows my body is failing. So just think about it. I mean, the other thing that I teach is that you have, so this is actually the chart of how the soul energy moves through these profiles, and if you pick the right profile, it feeds all of the chakras. If you pick the wrong profile like this one, it only feeds a couple of chakras, and we're basically running our life on the chakra system, okay? And so imagine that your soul is sending you all the energy you'll ever need. So here it is, your soul, this infinite energy, and this little sun right here. Just picture that sun is bigger than this house, right? It's bigger than the planet. Your soul is bigger than the planet, just in this picture, right? And it's got that much energy for your life purpose, but you have to do one thing in your life. You have to remember what that life purpose is, so you can open the channel to let that energy come through. And the channel is knowing which of these 5 qualities you are, which of these 5 qualities the soul has, so that you can then feel that and let that move through you. That's the key. And if you don't, like I didn't, I tried to run my soul energy, which is here to just be crazy creative. I tried to run it through the achiever, the martial artist, the competitive tennis player, the business owner, all of these things, all these competitive, driven things that I was here to do, that I knew I was here to do, and I'm going to be successful at that. And my body, I started having lower back problems, sinus problems, relationship problems, work problems. And of course, as you go further along in the lie, your body starts breaking down more and more. I believe that most of aging is based on the fact that most people run their beautiful, infinite, immortal soul energy through a life, through a body, through an energy system, run their chakras backward, so those chakras are having to produce something that they were never meant to produce. They never get fed by it. And so the chakras, when you feed your chakras, when you feed yourself, so when I feed myself something like this, like a creative moment where I just get to be creative about how I'm going to teach you about these 5 creative forces in the world. And every one of them is a creative force. Every one of them does something completely differently. And when you see that, you start realizing, oh my God, that's so who I am. Right. And so when I get to do this, I literally get fed. I'm getting younger right now. And so it's your essential purpose in life to find which of these 5 soul qualities you are. People are like, well, what about the assholes in the world? What about the jerks? What about they're all that whole category of problem people are the leaders. Because, and listen, all of you that know that you're leaders, it's not a bad thing. You are here, and you know it in some deep level. You know that you are here to be either an incredible example that everyone will follow because you're a leader, or you're going to be a terrible warning where you're going to teach people that this is not the way you want to operate. This is not the way you want to do this. And this is, so you're either a wonderful example or a terrible warning, and there tends to not be a whole lot in between, even though you're incredibly dynamic. The key is going to be, if you're a leader, you say, how am I leading right now? How is this changing the world? How is this changing the people that I'm around? I'm a change agent. I do that. If I'm an achiever, doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're at work or wherever. It's like, how am I finding the most efficient and the best way and the most, and the smartest way to make something happen and help these people understand how they fit in the world, how they do things in the world, how they can do things more gracefully in the world. And that's what the achiever does, right? And then if you're a deep feeler, if you're the caretaker, the first thing you're asking yourself is, how is this helping everyone around here? How am I helping? And when you do that, and when you know that about yourself, just that you're here to make sure that everybody else does better in the world, wow, all of a sudden you're filling yourself with the energy that your soul needs. And as you open that door, not only does the world feed you, but your soul feeds you. So now you've got double energy. You're expanding your energy field. And the deep feelers are the same way. If you just remember that it's like, how am I showing love? How am I giving love right here, right now? How do I do this? This is the quality of the deep feeler, right? And if like, is this coming from love? Or is this coming from my being hurt and being wounded and being a victim? And, does it come from that side of it? Which is it? And you have to make that choice. And when you make that choice, and when the lover chooses love, even in a situation where nobody's loving them, and it's hard to love, it's impossible to love, but they choose to love anyway, right? They choose to be the Mother Teresa. They choose to love unconditionally, even in the face of horrible odds and situations. Their chakras open up, they feed them, and simultaneously the soul feeds you. So this life force that you have, that's the basic life force within you, has a quality. I already talked about the creative idealist, how I did it, and how I hit it, and then you have to ask yourself, which of those are you pretending that you are? And I can tell you that most people in the world are pretending that they're either achievers or caretakers. Okay, and there's like, most of the people on the planet, because we live on a pretty tough planet here, most of the people on the planet are actually leaders. There's like 40% leaders as far as I can tell. And then the other ones are pretty well evenly split up in between. From the other 60% are divided between the other 4. But understanding your soul quality is the essence of knowing how to choose the right jobs, choose the right relationships. Because if I'm an achiever, achievers choose people that are super soft and like the emotional intelligence specialists. The leaders choose deep feelers. Not deep feelers, sorry. It's the leaders. So the achievers choose the deep feelers. The leaders choose the caretakers, because leaders, of course, need a lot of caretaking. And the creative people tend to find other creative people, or they come into relationship in their strong secondary, because their primary is really there's more of them in the spirit world. And so they either find a partner who also is in that, they meet up there, spiritually, or then the actual, how they interact and how they make love and how they play and how they, do work with people and how they operate, that tends to come in through their secondary quality. But the other ones are pretty solid. And if you don't know which one you are, you're going to naturally be attracted to the wrong person, right? Because you're not naturally, but you're going to be nurtured into believing that, well, I'm this way, and a lot of achiever men think that they have to be the leader and have to be tough, but they're not, or the deep feeling men. And by the way, there's an equal number of leadership men and women, leadership or achieving men and women, caretaking men and women, deep feeling men and women, and creative men and women. Even the world, the culture tells you that there are more leaders and achiever men and more caretaker and deep feeling women, and it is not true. It is not true. That's one of the biggest lies that we've got, and the creative people, they don't even come in the conversation usually. So it's important for you to know this, because if you run your energy system on the wrong person, it will kill you. It's slowly killing you every day, slowly wearing you down. Because when I was, working so hard at being this achiever and successful and doing these things, and then just think about whatever you're doing. If what you're doing is exhausting you, you're pretending you're somebody that you aren't. You are in the wrong profile.